some road racers out there, and yeah, it was kind of generating a little bit of buzz for the NCK and the Speed Vegas group. So I think it could be a pretty good event for you guys.
It's a great venue. I think a lot of the attraction is that it's never been run before. And that's good too. You have that attraction where nobody has an advantage except for Todd, who ran like 1 million laps that day in December. But I haven't been racing in like 2 years. So if I'm out front, it's not because I drove there in my go-kart or anything. It's just because I got lucky that day. And believe me, there haven't been that many lucky days for me in go-kart racing. And so, yeah, you're going to have a lot of attractions because it's never been run. There's big things talked about in that boardroom I can't get into, that if this thing does come off well, there's a lot of future. I can tell you this is a huge experiment for both. I think NCK will probably make out in the first one rather well. And Speed Vegas is hoping this mushrooms into something larger. Like I said at the beginning, it's an experiment. If this thing turns out well, the sky's the limit. I mean, larger things can be had. And both parties, I mean, it was a Saturday in a boardroom where no one was bothering us. And, I mean, the things they talked about were like big stuff. And if this goes out without a hitch, I'm sure there's going to be little things like, hey, this thing happened, or let's improve this next time. That's always on first-time events. But if everything goes off without a hitch, per se, this could be a regular, big event.
Yeah, and I know it'd be good for the SoCal racers. It'd be good for the Las Vegas racers. The road racers out of Phoenix, because I know a number of you guys. I mean, you live in Vegas, correct?
I do. I live in a suburb called Henderson, which is probably about 16 or 17 minutes from the track.
Okay. And then, you know, how many times? You don't have to answer this question, but you live in Vegas. How many times have you made the trek to Northern California for a road race? So it's. I know when I talked to Mark about this back in, I think, January or February, and I think it was probably February when we first did a podcast, and he was really excited because he's been looking for kind of a different event to plop down in the middle of, again, that southern region for you guys. So this could be really, really good.
Yeah, it doesn't fit what you call Northern California Karters. So obviously we're south. Obviously we're in Nevada.
Yeah.
So it would be like Southern United States Karters or something like. But it's gonna be different. There's hotels here. There's other stuff to do. Obviously. So you can make a little vacation out of it. It's not like there's a track that's 70 miles from the nearest big city and you're staying at a Motel 5. Notice I didn't say the other word there. But, you know, we have everything. I mean, is it a family town? No, never really has been, although they tried to experiment with that a long time ago. But there is things to do for the whole family here in town. So the race can be just part of it. It was originally scheduled for a Sunday. I think they made it a Sunday for two reasons, and that is to get you to come here on a Saturday or a Friday night, per se, and the kids can have fun. And number two, Speed Vegas isn't as busy. It will be a shared date with the cars. In other words, the cars will run for half an hour. The go-karts will run for half an hour. Cars, go-karts, all day long. Because somebody had to kind of do the experiment, and that's the way the experiment's going to happen the first time. But we've shared dates before. It's worked out well. I don't see a problem with Speed Vegas inserting their driving instruction in the middle of all this. All the coaches I don't know too many coaches on staff that are not racers. so they understand. They understand that stuff like this is going to happen, and there's going to be an interruption to their day and an interruption to their tips. But they're on board. They know me. I've been there a while. Have some respect anyway. Maybe I don't have respect. I don't know. I have to check with everybody. But enough to the point where they know Todd's doing something. Let Todd do his thing and let him experiment. If it turns out poorly, it turns out poorly. I'm sure I'll hear about that. But if it turns out good, it'll probably be someone else's idea.
Yeah. Well, no, we have it recorded. I have like 1 million listeners on this show. So there's at least 1 million people that just heard that you're promoting this.
Okay, just checking. Making sure. Yeah, I know I'll hear about it because it's going to be bad.
Yeah.
But hey, everyone is on board. Even I mean, it's hard to see that management is all on board. Everybody is with this. They want to make it happen. They want to make a different thing happen. And I've been there a long time to where they're taking a chance on me. And I think it'll be perfect. I think it's going to be great.
Well, let's give a sales pitch out to, I guess not a sales pitch, a plug is the proper term.
I was going to say, I thought we did that.
Yeah. Well, let's do a plug for SpeedVegas. It's speedvegas.com. And so before I talk to Mark, before I talk to you, I drove by the track a few times on the way into Vegas for, the big races with either Scusa or Rock the Rio with the Vortex group. And
okay.
So you see the track, you see the building if you're entering Vegas from the south side on I-15, but
very dramatic, isn't it?
It is. It's like, yeah. I mean, you're driving along. Oh, we're going to get to Vegas. Like, oh, why? That's a real racetrack. What is that place?
Yeah. Exactly.
So I mean, you guys do by the laps or by the hour. You can go into that a little bit more. But you guys basically rent exotic cars like the Lamborghinis, Ferraris, Priuses, right? You have Priuses there?
We have an instructor with a Prius, yes.
Oh,
yeah, it's pretty funny. And he knows more about any car that we have than anything. His name is Paul. It's pretty funny. Yeah, I'm like, Paul, do you drive that Prius in the parking lot? He goes, yeah. What do you want about it? What do you got a problem with it? So yeah, he's the one. Like, we want to know how many horsepower the Lamborghini has. If a customer asks, we're like, hey, Paul, how many horsepower does the Lamborghini have? He knows, like, 642. Or like, oh, hey, it's the man.
Yeah.
But yes. No. We rent Ferraris, we rent Lamborghinis, Porsches. There was an AMG at one point. I heard we got the new Corvette C8. It's by the lap. There is no minimum. It's a 1-lap deal. If you want to come in, we do some training, which takes like about half an hour. We want you to watch a safety video, and that goes back to me saying it's one of the safest places I've ever worked or been on track at, by the way. Throw you through the safety video, answer some questions if you have them. And if you want to go out there for 1 lap, we will take you around our track for 1 lap. If you do more laps, it's less expensive per lap, obviously. Yeah. When you get into there to the 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 laps, you're paying a lot less. Now, the cost depends on the car you choose, depends on the day you choose, depends on other factors. There's specials sometimes, but there is no minimum, and we're glad to take you around for 1 lap. And just as a side note, you do have a coach sitting next to you, like me, a driving instructor. But I can tell you, no one, I would trust my life to any one of them. It's one of those places where you're like, wow, everyone is super qualified to work there. And I don't think I've ever worked at a place like that.
No, we're going to have a bunch of racers down there, so this will be great. So someone like myself, I don't have extensive background with any sports cars or Do I like them?
Oh,
Yeah,
thank
but I've
God.
never
We
really
hate
driven
people with
one.
experience.
What's that?
Yes, I think we love that.
Yeah, so obviously when I show up, I'm going to be the typical dude. I'm going to look for the biggest, baddest car possible, put it on my credit card and go, yeah, I'm going to go break the track record. But with your experience and how long you've worked there, if you were to approach it without the ego, how would you walk into the event knowing what you know? What car would you rent? And how would you approach your day to get the maximum effect from the experience?
It's gonna be a weird answer for you, and everybody's gonna be like, "Really? What?" And I will tell a customer, they walk up to me, and I'll just say, "Okay, what is your background?" Nothing. I'd really like to drive, but I don't want to go super fast, but I want to be able to, if you can get me there, talking to me as an instructor. I'm like, rent a Ferrari. I said, if you were going to learn how to drive, rent a Ferrari. It's very forgiving. It's turboed, which may seem daunting, but at the same time, the turbo lag really helps you get up to speed slower. Does that make sense? It kind of like delays everything a little bit so that you don't have that stab of the throttle you would think you would get that would set you back in the seat and you would feel out of control. I tell everybody, you want to learn how to drive? Rent the Ferrari. It's very tight. It drives like a go-kart, but it's got so much grip that I've had that car in impossible situations myself driving, and it rights itself. It's an amazing piece of engineering. It's the 488 GTB model, just to let you know, just give you a model. It definitely the favorite car in the entire fleet. Okay. It just is so forgiving. And that's not to say it's the most expensive car on our list, because it is, but there's a reason for that. It just does whatever you want it to do. By far my favorite. Are there other cars that can go fast? Sure. We get everyone there. We get professional drivers like Michael Waltrip, like you said, and we get people that are gonna get married the next day who are, just there blowing off steam before their wedding.
With Slash from Guns N' Roses.
I think he was there once, wasn't he?
Yeah, he renewed somebody's vows.
Did he really? Wow.
Yeah.
See, a lot of this may have happened before my time. I've only been there 2.5 years. A lot of this happened maybe before me. So I can't say to, every celebrity that's walked through the door, but we've had a lot. And there's a chance you could see somebody there. They come in sometimes without notice. They just kind of come in, and we sometimes don't know who they are until they leave. Others come in with 30 people, and you're like, oh, hey, that's the guy from wherever. And typically, they do okay. We like the non-race drivers, if I can give you a preference, because a race driver tends to want to prove that they can drive it faster than anyone else.
Well, I already said I'm going to break the track record when I go.
Yeah, exactly.
And I've never driven a high-performance car beyond a M3, so.
Yeah, we get a lot of that. Hey, I own a BMW M3. And we're like, oh, boy, here it comes. And we get thrown around there like a 10-pound sack of potatoes in a trunk. And it becomes a problem once in a while. And you want to, pull out. And, you can't be mad at them. You got to take it how it is. You be like, oh, hey. And they're like, how'd you do? You did great. But if you let the instructor at our facility, like if you come in and you let the instructor teach you and tell you when to hit the brakes, when to hit the gas, when to steer, how much to steer, things like that, that's where the magic happens.